friends. Welcome to another episode of the Second Page Show podcast. My name is Strider, and as always, I'm here with Kyle. How are you, man?
Doing good, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. And with us, of course, the part of our trio is Lakitia. Hello.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second Age show of 2022.
Yeah, welcome. So tonight we have some very interesting news to discuss, and I'm just going to start with the first one. So the first exclusive we have is Muriel will be Queen Muriel at some point in season 1, but it is unsure whether she would be serving as a regent queen while Tar Palantir is getting older, or that she is an outright queen with Farazan as her right hand. So that's the exclusive, and accompanying this exclusive, we also have a source character overview of Queen Muriel. So, well, she looks amazing, very regal, and her outfits are breathtaking. Muriel is clearly proud and intelligent, wise in the ways of politics. She's also good, and it seems she would choose to do the right thing rather than the thing that would give her the most personal gain, unlike Farazan, who would do the opposite. So, this is the first big exclusive of today, and it's definitely a big one. So, how do you feel about Lakitia?
I'm just really excited to get to know the character. I love all the superlatives that she's been described with, and they certainly seem fitting. And I'm really intrigued by the bit that says that she would choose to do the right thing over something that would benefit her. And I kind of love that. I think in lots of recent fantasy media, the emphasis was more on the morally gray characters, especially when it came to monarchs. And while I certainly do hope that they give her plenty of nuance, I'm pretty excited to see somebody just striving to do good, like, and to do right by everyone. And I'm quite intrigued by having Farazan as her right hand man, and we've heard this before, of course. But I'm really expecting a really complex dynamic here, and especially with their descriptions being so different and everything. So yeah, I think it sounds really good, and I think the way her appearance is described is suitably opulent, and yeah, that sounds like a Muriel that could be really interesting.
Yeah, I really like the idea of expanding on Muriel, and I do wonder to what extent she'll be the ruling queen. I wonder if it'll be something like with Vardimir, where he's technically a ruler, but wasn't Tar Vardimir kind of thing, recorded in the lines of kings. But I have to wonder if it will be something to that same extent or similar extent.
For me, this definitely also sounds really interesting, and I think it would be also great to see her both of these situations, like as the regent queen, while Tar Palantir is getting older, and then of course with Farazan as her right hand, because then we can see her grow. Because even though we don't know how big of a character arc she's going to have, if they manage to give us like at least a couple of episodes with Tar Palantir, we can see her grow into the role before what's going to happen happens. So, and of course, her looking amazing and very regal, and her outfits being breathtaking, that's all we can hope for. If the costumes are on the level of the films, or hopefully even better than that, then I think we're in for quite a visual treat regarding.
You're an optimistic man.
Well, if it's on the level of the movies, I'm gonna be the most happiest man. If they're better, then even better.
And I really like what you said about us seeing her being the regent to Palantir. I think that would be really, really interesting to see, given that it basically lends us to see the man that shaped who she was, essentially, presumably. So I think they could lean very heavily into how her later political leanings have been shaped and influenced by her father, and having a little insight into what that relationship looked like, I think could be very valuable. So I hope you're right. I hope we do see a lot of that.
Agreed. I think, I mean, the more family members we see of family, I'm going to be happier. So, yeah. Okay, so that was it about the first exclusive. So, Kyle, do you want to tell us what's next?
Sure. The next one is that Queen Muriel is apparently having visions of buildings and cities being wiped out underwater. One of the visions / dreams took place when Muriel was visiting and giving a blessing to new Numenorian mothers. The director Wayne Yip was just directing the Muriel actor, whoever that happens to be, and was describing the vision she would be seeing before she would do her scene. Yeah. How does that sound?
That sounds pretty great.
So,
So we have
yeah,
another one that ties directly to this one. Do you want to
Sure, yeah.
tell us
We can
that one as well,
dive
Kyle?
right into that. On the Amdalen sets, which is the Numenor sets, some dock / market sets were made to be flooded, and multiple sightings of bodies floating in the water, which is presumably the filming of Numenorian city wipeout scenes. So the drowning of Numenor, it sounds like she could be having visions of this, or premonitions maybe even, of this event.
So this is huge, definitely. So this is a really big spoiler for anyone who is interested in maybe keeping something secret. We are going to discuss something really, really, really big at this point. So this is your warning. The scene, or like the whole event of Numenor being sunk under the sea, it's one of the grandest events in the history of Arda and everything that Tolkien did. And for him personally, I believe I read that for him this myth of the flood, for him it's something that's deep, very deeply ingrained in the subconsciousness of us as a race. And we, of course, in the movies, we also have Faramir and Boromir and Denethor, actually, I think, also having those visions about the world ending, and in a similar way. So Muriel having visions about this, it's really good. It shows us that they're going to set up that in advance, and I cannot wait to see that whole scene. Muriel having visions, it's a really good way to set up this huge event that's going to happen. So I cannot wait to see that.
Yeah, it really does sound like a pretty spectacular premonition. And it does seem quite symbolic too, in a way. I think a vision happening while she's blessing the newborns and stuff. Perhaps, she senses that these same children won't even survive to reach adulthood because, the downfall is coming. But the thing about these visions, though, is, at least in my opinion, this sort of stuff can end up looking pretty cheesy very quickly. So I really hope it's not too heavy-handed. And there's also another thing. In my opinion, it would be a bit anticlimactic to have season 1 showing us visions of an event that doesn't happen for another 4 seasons, for example. So, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of examples how this has been utilized well in another show. And I'm happy to hear it. If anybody has suggestions, please put them in the comments down below. But for me, I think this could mean we could potentially be getting the downfall a little sooner than maybe some of us have anticipated. I think it could potentially be happening as early as the end of the 2nd season, even. So, I don't think that this really, sets anything in stone. By all means, no. But I think if you do show a premonition, then seeing its outcome or seeing that event actually happening would make sense to be shown pretty quickly after the premonition. So a season later at most.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I was kind of surprised to hear of that type of foreshadowing happening so soon. If that is in fact what they're attempting to foreshadow, which, I mean, it kind of, if it acts like a duck and quacks like a duck, then it's got to be a duck. But I think the idea that Muriel is having these visions or premonitions or dreams or whatever they happen to be is really cool, because we know of Palantir's foresight, right? Like, we know that Palantir was able to kind of have this vision of the white tree perishing and to see the line of kings ending. So I think it's cool. Maybe it's like a gift that he has that he hands down or to Muriel as well. So I think that's really cool. I think the other possibility is that with Galadriel being on Numenor, is she controlling these visions? Is she putting these ideas in Muriel's head, or what exactly is going on there?
Galadriel the puppeteer. That could be interesting.
Well, I think that I understand the concerns that you just stated, and yeah, setting this up way too early could be a mistake. But I can definitely see ways to keep this a mystery, because I mean, of course, the fans who know what's going to happen, they know what's going to happen. Whenever you put the visions, they're just going to know what's going to happen either way. But of course, we are not talking about the new fans that will watch the show, and I think it's definitely possible to do this type of visions without actually really spoiling it or like taking anything away from the actual reveal when the event happens. But I do agree that they have to approach this in a careful way, because setting this up way too early and then people will just forget about it or something like that.
Exactly. You don't have the payoff, Yeah. If people forget about the vision, then what's the point of having it anyway? Then it's just going to be like a little Easter egg for people who already know the story. So
I guess it's also possible that they're not going to actually show the vision. They're just going to show her having a vision, and she's seeing something, and they're not, that could very well be.
Or it could also be like a recurring theme. So, she could be having this sort of visions involving elements of the eventual downfall throughout the series until the actual downfall, and you're wondering throughout the series, what are these? What's what's happening? Maybe they could be alluding to potentially to the drowning of Beleriand as well, and maybe she could be interpreting her visions as having flashbacks. I mean, flashbacks, not because she wasn't alive back then, but having visions of what happened thousands of years before, whereas in reality she's having visions of what's going to happen during her lifetime. I could see that being quite interesting, but who knows? In any case,
that could be a way. Yeah, finish your thoughts.
No. I just wanted to say that I do hope they show it, because I think it can look very, very melodramatic, and it can be really shocking to see stuff like that. So yeah.
I wanted to say that I can definitely see the characters in the show seeing the visions like you just described. Like maybe they can like interpret them in that way, which would then just increase the shock for them personally when the whole thing happens. But yeah, it's exciting that we're going to see this, and they can. I think we've all seen this before in other movies or TV series. It's definitely possible to just have her like flashback, or not a flashback, a vision for like 2 or 3 seconds, and then it's over. And then 3 episodes after that it's like 5 seconds, but something like you can really play with the camera and everything. So this will potentially be one of the more interesting segments of the season, definitely, especially they of course do it properly.
I just got another idea. They could potentially also be using these sort of visions as a weapon for Pharazôn to maybe build his case that Muriel is unfit to rule. She's unreliable, she's having these visions, she's crazy. This is reaching, of course. This is pure speculation. But of course, seeing somebody just, I don't know, being floored with this huge vision, of course, you think, are they okay? So maybe that's the direction they're going.
Yeah, I could see that
You
being
know,
used as a device for sure.
yeah, like Cassandra in the Greek mythology, who was cursed
Oh yeah,
with
right.
having visions who nobody's gonna believe, but they're gonna be true.
Yeah,
So I could see a certain parallel
definitely.
going on here. Okay.
That would be that would make sense, but you know, somebody could believe her, and that's of course Elendil and some other people. So hopefully, you know what? Maybe these visions could be the reason why Elendil and his family survived.
Yeah.
Oh,
Listened.
because they believe her and listen to her. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. That could be interesting.
So
So they survive
yeah,
because they're super superstitious.
They're prepared for it.
Yeah. They're
yeah,
listening
but
to
I
the
mean, I
crazy
can
lady.
see like.
I can see Farazon using this, as you two just said, like a device to just get her off the throne.
Yeah.
And just manipulate this in one way and just like take it for granted, or just like a manipulation from the Valar or the elves or something like that. And then you of course have the faithful who will be like, okay, something huge is going to happen, of course we are being warned, let's just follow this through. And yeah, I think this could really fit in well together.
Shall we move
Okay.
to our last exclusive of the day? All right. So apparently, Muriel joins the Númenórean army to Middle-earth, and she's also present as a key figure on the Orc versus Númenórean battle sets. But it is said that during action or at some point, she will be partially blinded. What do you make of that?
I wonder, does that mean she's physically she's become blind because there's an injury, or if she's blinded by like a smoke screen, or what? Like what? I'm not sure exactly how to interpret that, but it's got to be significant somehow. And I wonder if it becomes like a permanent thing where she's actually blind, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's.
I would say that maybe this could. I'm not sure about the timeline. I'm just gonna connect this, even though I'm not sure would it make sense, like time-wise. But it could be like a symbolic, losing the eyesight but gaining like the foresight. Maybe something like that. But it doesn't necessarily have to work like when you consider the whole timeline. But there could be a connection between that, and it's interesting to see her definitely in action in one way or another.
Yeah, it'll be cool to see her on the battlefield and taking up arms or whatever it is she does, and yeah, I think that'll be epic.
Yeah, that must be probably taking place after, like towards the end of the season. After Galadriel and Hadrith have pled their cases and ensured the Númenóreans' aid. As for being partially blinded, I sure hope it's not anything like a fake out death scene or something. Like for instance, Wheel of Time was really guilty of having so many of those that by the end of the season, you don't even bat an eyelash when somebody's apparently dead, because you're like, yeah, of course they're not dead. It's just a fake out death scene. So I really hope Lord of the Rings avoids that. And I do hope this doesn't sound too sadistic, but I think it would be interesting to see her struggle with her new disability if she really does indeed lose her eyesight in later seasons. Though, again, this is a very, very slippery slope and could go very wrong very quickly. So I kind of think it's more like she gets wounded and temporarily blinded, but then later recovers. I kind of hope that's the case.
Yeah, I agree there. I don't know about the fake out deaths, because I think we see a lot of that in both the Lord of the Rings books and the films. Maybe a little bit too much. So I think that could still be a thing.
Cool. Yeah, it could be, and it can be done well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah, I think there is room for her exploring her weakness. But I do agree that having like a fake out death, it can be done definitely, but I don't think it's that necessary.
Yeah.
Like you can just have her be hurt. I mean, if that's what's going to happen to her, you can just have her hurt, and you don't have to just her screaming "I cannot see" or something like that. That can be stressful enough. Like I think it would be perhaps even more effective to have this person who is used to being in charge just, I'm not saying this or something, but like if that's what's gonna happen, like her screaming "I cannot see" or something like that, that would be way more effective and like way more impactful for us as the audience than just having like, oh, is she going to die or something like that, because then we can right away start making peace with what's going to come next instead of just, is she going to die?
No, but I really I must come back to what you said, because it's really good. Like lots of seers in ancient Greek mythology and like in all sorts of works of literature are blind. So I really like this connection that she gains her foresight but loses her actual sight, at least for a while.
Yeah.
This does sound pretty amazing.
Muriel the Foresighted. How about that?
The foresighted, yeah.
I mean,
Her father is Tar Palantir, so
Yeah, exactly. So it would make a lot of sense. Okay, so we've covered all our exclusives for today, but we thought that we should, maybe give a little insight into what we know of the character from before, the character as she's going to be portrayed, presumably in this show, and we're also going to do a little speculation on who might be playing her. So, Muriel has the codename Asta, provided by Night Edge Media's casting breakdowns, and her description is as follows. Asta, series regular, female, 50 to 59, open ethnicity. A major role for a well-established and powerful female actor in her 50s or early 60s. A high-ranking lady. We are looking for someone with real stature here. She is mighty but reserved, also shows grace and humor. Series regular. So, what do you guys make of the description? Do you guys think that suits a potential Muriel?
So yeah, for me, saying that she's mighty but reserved and also shows grace and humor, I can definitely see her like that, because what we're going to get with Farazon, we're probably going to get something a bit more opposite, or at least twisted, because maybe he will also be a funny guy in some way, but I think this description sounds like something that we all kind of expect from her. Of course, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, mighty but reserved with grace and humor sounds like Muriel to me.
I think the only thing that I would point out that jumps at me immediately is the age range, 50 to 59, where we know Farazon is being played by Tristan Gravel, and I don't think he's in that age range. You would think that Muriel would maybe be closer to the same age, so I wonder if that's changed or what the deal is with that exactly.
That is true, but I would like to point out that Tristan has been sporting a long white beard throughout the shoot. I mean, he's fairly young. I think he's 40 or something like that.
30,
but maybe they are aging him up a little bit in order to fit a slightly older Muriel. But I think it's also quite likely that they maybe aged her down a bit. Or maybe even it's also possible, though I don't think it's very likely, but I think it's also possible that the casting breakdowns did get the age span wrong.
Yeah, very true.
So yeah, any ideas which actress out of the ones that we've had revealed so far could be a good candidate to portray this lovely queen of ours?
Well, we have 3 potential ladies. So I'm going to mention first Cynthia Addai Robinson. I hope I read that properly. Maxine Conliffe and Tusitha Sundera. I probably butchered this, but hopefully no one's going to mind. So yeah, those three ladies. So do you guys have a favorite?
I think Maxim and Thusitha, they don't really have that big of a profile as far as recognition goes. Given that Muriel is presumably going to be one of the lead characters, I would suppose they would be casting an actress who's got a little bit more of a public profile, which Cynthia certainly fits. But of course, on the other hand, Cynthia is much younger than the age span that they described in the casting call. So she doesn't seem to fit there unless, of course, they aged her down, like we mentioned earlier. Otherwise, all three of them look plenty regal to me, so I'm sure all three of them could be made to look, really fitting for the role. But I'm afraid I've never seen Tusitha or Maxine act, so I don't really have any opinion on their acting jobs.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I like all three of them. I have not seen Maxine and Thusitha in anything. I know Cynthia's been in Spartacus, and there's the bit of that like warrior thing going on that we could see Muriel if we're seeing her on the battlefield and stuff. I think that could be potentially a good fit.
Yeah, for me, sadly I have to agree with you too, because I haven't seen Maxine and Tusitha before, which is it would be better if I did than if we all did, because then we could probably have like a better judgment for this. But I agree with Lakita's comment that if they want to make her like this figure of authority that's going to resonate with the viewers, Cynthia is probably the best choice. Now, of course, the stated age does kind of throw a wrinkle in that, but they can still make that work. And if you find a really good actor that fits a role perfectly, you can always change things up a bit to make them fit there. So I would definitely agree that Cynthia is my favorite as well for this role, even though all three ladies could for sure carry this role. I will also add that I know Cynthia from Spartacus as well, but also she was in a TV show called The Arrow, or just Arrow. She played Amanda Waller, which is like a figure of authority, and though that character is a bit more bitchy, not as perfect of a ruler as Queen Muriel, but I can definitely see Cynthia pulling that off. But as well, all three ladies are great.
Yeah, I just want to say that for the longest time, I was really sure that this role is going to be portrayed by Nazanin Boniadi. And back when we thought that this show was mainly taking place during the Forging of the Rings, with the character of Asta being, in fact, Tartalparian, I was that's sure that she was going to be portrayed by Nazanin. But now, of course, it seems that Nazanin is playing the character called Kari, and she's not a candidate for our queen anymore. But I think it's a shame, because I think she'd make a magnificent queen. But I'm sure, she's going to be really, really lovely as Kari as well.
I would also point out, though it's just maybe just my brain doing what it always does, connecting people's faces. Cynthia, of the three actresses here, looks the most to me like I guess like a distant cousin to Isildur, but that's just like my brain being.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
But I can
see like putting them in a throne room, and somebody just mentions that they are kind of related, so of course people have to know that.
But
I could then see the connection. But that's just
Yeah, and then
Interesting.
of course there's the connection to Farazon as well. I mean, they're cousins.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I wonder how they're gonna handle that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think if this is Cynthia, either Maxine or Thusitha could play the mother, right? The
Yeah.
wife of Palantir or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. And age-wise, I think Maxine could probably be the best candidate. I think she does look like potentially she could be Cynthia's mom.
Definitely.
So yeah, that could explain, why the ethnical difference in actors of Farazan and Muriel as well. But yeah.
Yep. Definitely.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, that would fit quite well. Actually, yeah, good observation, excellent. Okay, so do you people have, any other comments, or do we wrap this up?
I think mainly I'm really excited to see her as one of the lead characters. I think Muriel is one of the most tragic characters in Tolkien's Legendarium. Her fate is just, it really isn't kind to her, and the visual of her trying to get to top of Men Tarma, trying to save herself, I think that's gonna be a very, very, very haunting image, regardless of who portrays her. And I think it's gonna be a tragedy for the ages. So I really hope she's done well. I hope she's portrayed well. I hope she's written well. So yeah, I hope this is the character we can, in retrospect, hate Farazan for all the more, because he's ultimately the one that's brought upon the downfall along with Sauron, and here's this really awesome character that's gonna get lost in the waves. So I hope they build it up really nicely.
Agreed. I would just add to that so if we assume that, of course, the character is written very well and they set it up perfectly, definitely all three ladies could pull that off, I'm sure. So it's going to be very exciting when that moment comes.
Yeah.
And it cannot come sooner.
Yeah, only 8 months away now, so
less than 8
we're
months,
almost
yeah.
there. Yeah, 7.5.
Yeah.
That's true, 7.5. Wow.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, it's getting closer. It's coming home.
Not that I want to rush along to September again, but yeah, we're approaching, and I think that means we're gonna start seeing some stuff soon. I think.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for a long time.
Birthday.
Yeah.
Tolkien's birthday passed.
Come and gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just have to say quickly, while we're on the topic, that I thought it was really, really lovely that a lot of the actors did acknowledge it. Cynthia was among those who posted on social media, commemorating his birthday, and I think Lloyd Owen was one as well. And I think also possibly Dylan Smith. So I thought that was that was really lovely.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, well, that is all for this episode of our Second Age show. It was a pleasure to have you all here. Kyla, Kitia, always a pleasure to talk with you guys. And
it was fun.
Yeah. That's all for tonight. Good night and enjoy your week, fellow friends, and see you next Sunday.